everybody. It's time for the XP Billionaires podcast. This is Ray Fagram, and I am here with my hosts, Sky Knight and Irene Rogue. And let's welcome them to the show. Sky, how are you doing today?
I'm fine.
That is excellent. And Irene, how are you doing today?
A bit frazzled, but all right nonetheless. Just, adult stuff. Adulting sucks.
It does. I mean, I had to work today, and yet I still had to come here to entertain you all with our show.
I had to defrost my fridge today, which has a defroster built in because the defroster doesn't work.
That's not good.
Nope. I have to replace the fridge now.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah, I do not envy you. All right. Well, we have got a top 3 episode for everyone today, and this is gonna be a weird one, and you will find out why in just a second. So, building a great party in an RPG is one of the more fulfilling aspects of the genre. The fact becomes more true when the characters are given a great personality, and sometimes they don't end up that way. Sometimes the designers like to throw curveballs by coming up with some really strange or quirky characters. They can sometimes be fun, but other times they can just be annoying, and if possible, you just toss them aside, never to be seen again. So, this week, the XP Billionaire proudly presents the top 3 weirdest party members, or as I like to call it, the Cavalcade of Fools.
Dun, 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 dun.
Now, before we begin, a very important note. Now, we will be judging our characters based on very generic conceptual weirdness. We're going to avoid problematic characters or those who could be interpreted as weird for problematic reasons, such as queer coding or ableism. So you don't have to worry about that. We at the XP Billionaires strive to be incredibly progressive, so yeah, you got nothing to worry about. But on that note, we're going to begin with Sky today. So, you got a list of weirdos. I want to know what your number 3 one is. Tell me now. Come on, hurry.
Okay. My number 3 is Mizuti from Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings in the Lost Ocean on the GameCube. Now, Mizuti is one of the most charmingly strange characters I've ever seen. I'm avoiding their actual pronouns because that's a bit of a spoiler. They always wear a mask with exaggerated features and bold colors and have a little birdie topper on their hat that is actually a piece of their equipment. While Mizuti's wardrobe is in line with others from their culture and in their home village, they definitely go bolder and more ornate than most. But the oddest thing about Mizuti is their speech. Mizuti tends to speak in a very confusing roundabout manner and refers to themselves in the third person as, and I quote, the Great Mizuti, which raises a lot of eyebrows, including from their own family. It's not really out of arrogance, though. I mean, they are a very powerful spellcaster at only 14 years old. And I love using them. And it's one of those times where I'm like, I am so sad you are the last character I recruit. Because I love you so much and I want more of you. So yeah, that's why I decided to put Mizuti on this list.
That was a definite good choice. That I feel like I'm going to have forgotten a lot of these characters that are going to come on the list. So it's really refreshing to be reminded of them. And absolutely, Mizuti qualifies. There's no question in my mind about that. So, no, awesome. So, all right. Well, then let's move on to Irene. What have you got for number 3?
So, my number 3 spot, and I've chosen to refer to him in this way because the game actually reveals his true name in a very organic fashion, and I don't necessarily want to spoil it for folks, is Detective Alcoholic from Disco Elysium, your player character. So, and it's not for his crippling alcoholism, that I have included him on this list, just to be clear. But I've included him on this list for the absurdity that is the inside of his head. So, for those of you who are on my stream, I guess by the time this goes up, not this week, but the week before last, I played Disco Elysium. And as you played through, as we all saw, the player's bombarded by every intrusive thought this man has, incessantly, as the various portions of his psyche interpret the world around him. Like, for example, Encyclopedia will often come back with stellarly useless trivia, while Endocrine gets really excited when you find things that could get him high. Like, there's a part of him at one point where if you choose to, observe a pair of old men having a game, like an actual sports game, it just goes crazy and is like, there is a sports ball and you must sport and be dominant, and you keep insisting. Well, I kept insisting, I don't know the rules. I don't know what kind of sport it is. And his brain is just going, doesn't matter. Sport, sport, sport. It's really, really well done and absolutely hilarious to read. You ultimately have control over how he handles these thoughts, but they're there and they insist on your attention. Sometimes in the dumbest situations and for no reason. The game portrays this man's inner dialogue as endlessly funny and makes for a very interesting protagonist. And I feel like what the game makers have really hit the nail on the head with, and what they've really managed to capture, is the absolute shit show that I would venture anybody's inner monologue is. There is one point, I can't remember exactly what label it was, but I actually had a fight with one part of my brain, because this is the idea that this guy is espousing, and I was like, oh, well, I could be down for that. No. And literally, I had 5 options, and all of them were some variation of maybe, but only if I consider, all pushing the other direction, and then it just comes back with no. Doesn't matter what option you pick, it just says no to you again, and you have to go, oh, okay.
And then there was the whole HoboCop thing.
Oh my god.
It made me laugh so hard, because I think everyone has that moment where they're just like, fuck modern life, let's just go live in a dumpster somewhere.
Yep. So
It's dirty, but at least it's less complicated.
Yep. And I can't remember where I got the HoboCop idea from, but essentially as you progress through the games, you get ideas, and you can use these ideas for buffs in certain situations. So if you have inexplicable feminism as an idea, it gives you a +1 versus conversations with men. HoboCop just gives you a debuff. I don't know why it is useful, but it's funny. Anyway, if you leave them in long enough, they actually get absorbed, and then you cannot remove them, and they become part of your personality. So, and then they will take they'll take the wheel in certain situations. I can't remember where I got the HoboCop idea was, but as soon as I had to go dumpster diving, I put it on to see what was going to happen. And HoboCop was just like, this is a dumpster. Oh, yeah! And just went apeshit looking through the fucking dumpster, describing everything I was finding as treasure. And it was like, wow, really? No, it's a dumpster.
I imagine once you get to end game, near the end of the game, you're going to be so weird and fucked up that it's just going to get funnier and funnier, and also, but at the same time, darker and darker, probably.
Probably. There's apparently an achievement that you get for trying to do something rebellious while being an absolute fucking bootlicker, and it's called the world's most laughable centrist.
Wow. That's quite a claim.
But anyway, that's why Detective Alcoholic from Disco Elysium takes my number 3 spot.
Awesome. Yeah. From what I saw, you get to build him up into something. So I'm actually looking forward to when it comes out on console. I think that's what we're going to wait for. We're going to wait for it to come out there just because it's easier for us. Because I want to be able to play it too at some point. But let's move on to my number 3. So for mine, I looked all across the universe and I found the weirdest alien you could ever encounter. And his name is Jupus Tukey McGannell from Rogue Galaxy.
Challenge accepted, but go on.
Fair enough. So Jupus is an oddball of the most heartwarming kind. So he was a recently fired Galaxy Corporation scientist, and after getting fired, he tries to get revenge by taking over the building. And after Jaster and his newly found team of people take him down, he basically just forces his way into your band of pirates. He just kind of shows up. Like, no explanation. He's just there. And everyone's really mad because he's there, because he's supposed to be a criminal. But yeah. So he's really, really annoying to start with. But eventually, you kind of warm up to him. Some of the things that make him such a strange character are some of his special skills when you use him in combat. Most notably, the 5 alarm fire skill. So what he does is he throws a hot pepper up into the air, swallows it whole, and then in the very classic cartoon style, his face turns beet red, steams out from wherever his ears are, and then he just breathes fire on all the enemies. It's so weird, but it is so satisfying to watch him do it. Like he also has this breakdancing attack that does like a tornado of wind damage to everyone as well. I know he's got one that's related to chewing bubble gum, and I think he's got like a yo-yo attack too, which is really funny. Like he's a techie. Like he loves building weird shit. So he always has these kind of just interesting ways to do damage other than with his standard spear. But in the end, like for me, like it's more the skills that are strange than Jupus himself. He actually ends up having a really interesting backstory that you find out about as you progress. But he is still a little bit of a weirdo one way or the other, and it's enough to merit being on this list here.
He's also got a very sort of annoying, sort of grating, shrill voice that takes some time to get used to, and kind of makes him seem like really, really alien. I mean, basically, he's this short little blue alien with a long neck, and I don't know what he looks like.
His face kind of reminds me of the head of a shark in some ways, or some sort of sea serpent. It's almost somewhat like sea creature like, but it's bipedal, short, stumpy, and yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah, if you want to have a look at Jupus, if you haven't played the game, go look him up online. You'll kind of understand what I mean. But like he's an interesting one way or the other. And while he is a weirdo, he's not one that you need to ignore in your party because he's actually quite useful. So I still recommend that you play with him. So that is our number threes. We're gonna jump right to number two, and we're gonna reset the clock. So Sky, let's hear your number two.
So I went with Taro from Disgaea 2 Cursed Memories. Oh, Taro. He is adorable. And one of the most wonderful surprises of the game. So Taro is the protagonist's 11-year-old brother. He's a full demon due to being born after Adele's human family was cursed. The protagonist is Adele. So Taro has little horns. He dresses in a cute little cow print outfit. He's sweet. He's adorable. You can use him in battle. His abilities are all brought about by drinking different types of milk. Chocolate milk, strawberry milk, you name it. So this would all be strange enough, this playable little cow demon. But what just makes me laugh my ass off about Taro is his attack animation. He basically just launches himself at the enemy, flailing wildly, like whirlwind arms kind of flailing. It's too funny for words, and maybe I'm not making it sound as funny as it actually is. The best
I think
part,
I actually remember this.
yeah, it's super cute and super funny. And the best part of it all is he's actually amazing. He's an amazing playable character. I took him through to the end. You don't see too many child characters that are as good as Taro in RPGs. Often the child characters are either not as good as the more adult ones or just throwaway characters, basically. But yeah, Taro's amazing. So who would have thought that the milk-drinking demon would be so powerful? And that's why he's on my list.
Milk drinking demon.
Alrighty, Irene, let's move on. Let's get your number 2.
All right, so my number 2 pick, I'm sure surprising no one, though maybe only that it is my number 2 and not my number 1, is everyone's favorite Claptrap from Borderlands 2 and playable in the pre-sequel, so he counts! For all of you who have played these games, Claptrap is a rolling disaster on a single wheel and has just about as many brain cells. He's buckets of dumb. Buckets of dumb. Just, I can't describe to you how titanically stupid this robot is. In fact, he's so dumb that he actually convinced Hyperion to end his product line. Like, that's the thing. There are no Claptraps left because they were so stupid. And that's why there are basically no more Claptraps being made by the time you get to Borderlands 2, I think. He's the last one in existence, which makes him very lonely. He can't do stairs, which means, oh god, all sorts of challenges, but a very excellent punchline if you wait long enough for it. Like, at one point in the game, in the Borderlands 2, you're trying to get him from one point to another, and you have to get him on, like, a platform to raise him, right? And this is close to the beginning, so I'm not spoiling too much. And what he tells you is he's like, all right, I'll just wait right here. Standing on movable platforms is one of my favorite things to do, right up there with dancing and crying. Like, that's his whole bag. He actually manages to convince himself that a bunch of goons have the moral high ground in beating him up because he can't feel pain. Yeah, he's going back and forth with himself, like, pretending to be the goons and answering for him. And then he's like, wait, I don't feel pain, and it makes you feel better. Yeah, I think you have the moral high ground. Continue to beat me up! Claptrap's dumb. So by the time you get to the pre-sequel, he's actually playable in this game. And his absolutely chaotic personality is reflected extremely well in his playstyle. Essentially, his ultimate ability is called VaultHunter.exe. And what it does is it takes an ability from a random Vault Hunter, another playable character, like from the entire series, and steals their ability. Like, it copies them, but it's random. So, like, you'll activate it once and, like, get the Gunzerker mode, where suddenly your guns will just fire uncontrollably over and over and over again. Or you'll get, like, turret mode, or, like, siren mode, where you're on fire and, like, you run at things while you were on fire. Or other times, you're just gonna get a dud, which is a giant comical, like, fucking Wile E. Coyote black cannonball bomb with a fuse appears in Claptrap's hands, while Pop Goes the Weasel plays, and you have to run at something and blow them up, or you'll blow up and kill yourself. It's very strange. The worst part is if you're partied with Claptrap, if you actually play with a Claptrap, like, with your friends, his ultimate ability affects you as well. So I wasn't actually playing Claptrap at the time. I was playing the Baroness, and she's a sniper character. My friend was playing Claptrap, and he activated his ultimate ability and got Gunzerker mode, and my sniper rifle just started firing uncontrollably.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? Make it stop! I can't aim anything! And I was like, God fucking damn it, Claptrap. And that is Claptrap kind of in a nutshell. He's just random and difficult and just... Oh my god.
Chaos incarnate.
Pretty much. In fact, for those of you who haven't played the pre-sequel, I highly recommend you do, because it's very interesting. But if you choose to play as Claptrap, the game actually asks you 3 separate times if you want to do that. Like, you click on him and go confirm, and it's like, oh, phew, you selected Claptrap. That must have been a mistake. No, I want to play as Claptrap. You want to play as Claptrap? Yes. But it's Claptrap? Yes. But you know Claptrap, right? Yes, I want to play as Claptrap! The game acknowledges that Claptrap is a disaster. And he is a very strange little robot that ultimately just wants to be loved.
Wow. Yeah, no, that works. I'll take it.
I'm on Team Claptrap, by the way. I think he's amazing.
Fair enough.
I have been told I am wrong a lot. Please, contact me on Twitter to tell me I am wrong. If you feel that way.
All right, we'll make sure we'll double up on your Twitter handle there at the end of the episode, just to make sure people know where to go.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to mine. I have made another strange selection, although that is the theme of today's episode. My number two choice is Gao from Final Fantasy VI. So Gao is another real oddball of a character, but in all honesty, he's more a victim of circumstance than anything else, which is an unfortunate realization, but it's still there's some oddity to him because of this. So Gao was a boy who was abandoned by a deranged parent and forced to live in a region of the world known as the Veld. So there he had to deal with monster after monster, but instead of basically just succumbing, he basically learned to survive. He learned the ways of the beasts he fought with, and he truly did, make a life for himself. When you encounter him, however, you basically have to bribe him with meat in order for him to even talk to you. But he also speaks in such a broken form of English that it's really hard to get understanding.
Yeah, he's got a very rudimentary command of language.
That's what I was trying to get at, yes. And as a character, Gao doesn't even have a normal attack command. He has what's called Rage. When you select it, you pick a monster from a list of monsters he's fought with in the wild, and he'll just start randomly using one of the skills that monster has on each of his turns. It doesn't stop, it just keeps going until the fight ends or he dies, and then you reselect Rage. You can obtain more skills by going back to the Veld, and while you're there with Gao, he uses a command called Leap. Gao will jump into the fray, the fight will end, and you have to go through several random encounter battles, and you need to finish with them before Gao will just randomly show up at the end of the fight. You have to be careful because if you accidentally hit him, he runs off, and then you've got to wait even longer for him to come back. But when he does come back, he's added that new monster and sometimes some of the other monsters that you've fought to his repertoire. He's a really interesting one, but he's also very difficult to play with because you don't get really a direct control over Gao's skills. You just let him loose. That's basically how it works. But that mixed in with just this very feral nature is what makes him such an oddity, but he's still my number two pick because of that. I didn't use Gao all that much in most of my playthroughs. I remember one time where I did try to get as many of the monster skills from Rage as possible, but I just couldn't I couldn't figure out a way to make him viable.
He's better as sort of like a mid-game sort of character because if you find the right monsters in the Veld, he can actually get more powerful skills than most of your party actually has. You just don't have control over when he uses them.
Exactly.
It can be very good or very bad.
Yeah, it could be very glass cannony, or it could just be completely and utterly useless. So it just really depends. Like you have to know your monsters, you have to know your skills, you have to do a lot of experimentation with Gao in order to find the right monsters for you to make him work. So anyway, yeah, that's our set of number twos, but we have saved the oddest for last. And Sky is going to start us off with the oddest character that they could think of. So Sky, let's hear it.
All right, I picked Muppy from Mana Khemia Alchemists of Alrevis. Muppy is very unusual in a couple of different ways. Not only is it a strange character for the series it's in, it's part of the Atelier series. And the Atelier series generally doesn't have little pink aliens who ride around in flying pot-like spaceships. So there's that. He's also extremely arrogant and a troublemaker, causing all sorts of trouble around Al Rivas Academy, like blowing up the cafeteria. He wants to take over the school. He's a little shit disturber. In combat, he's quite interesting. Well, one of the things I always remember about him is his defensive switch out move, where actually it would be the switch in move, I guess, where he shrinks the party down and sucks them into his flying pot to protect them. I always thought that was pretty funny. One of the things that really does make Muppy stand out is that not only does he stand out series wide, he stands out in a game that is already filled with weird-ass characters. I am looking at you, Anna Lemurray. I love you, but you're weird. So, out of this strange variety of characters, which also includes a cat girl, by the way, Muppy is the weirdest of them all, and that's why he gets my top spot.
All right. That's definitely a weirdo. And just remember, if you want to see just how weird Muppy can be, try to go for Muppy's ending if you ever play the game.
Yes.
Oh no. Okay, so like, yes, go for it because it's amazing, but also like, buckle up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Irene, we've got one weirdo down. Who's left?
I believe I have picked the top weirdo of the night. I give you Quina from Final Fantasy IX. I actually went back and forth on who to give the top spot and finally had to concede that Quina is the weirdest character potentially ever. For starters, they're humanoid, but definitely not human, but the game never actually explains what they are. In fact, when Zidane asks, all he gets is that they are the Q. And never much else. When he asks, well, what are the Q? They're like, the Q are the Q! Eat a frog! That's Quina in a fucking nutshell. Quina has the unique ability to eat monsters to gain their abilities. You know, they're the blue mage. But there are no size restrictions on the monsters. At all. Like, I want to stress that Quina is not much larger than, like, your average human. They really aren't. And yet, if the monster is weak enough, Quina can just eat them. They can unhinge their seemingly horrific maw and swallow the monster whole. And I'm assuming that their maw must be horrific because, again, there are no size restrictions. You can eat a monster that is like the size of the whole fucking party if you so choose. And Quina barely bats an eyelash. Quina is terrifying. So there's a point in the game where your party actually gets split up and you're like reassembling your party, right? And you run into them. You just run into Quina in an impossible place where they have gone in search of food. Like, there shouldn't be any way for them to have gotten there, and yet they're there. And they're like, oh, hi Zidane! I was looking for food. And Zidane's like, how the fuck did you get here? Food! They managed to get into a place that is inaccessible by like normal walking or mortal means because they were hungry. And eventually you get a move called Cook that drastically reduces the threshold to actually eat a monster. And if they don't learn anything from it, or they can't learn anything from it, they just declare that it tastes bad, and the monster still dies. Quina is deeply confusing, and you never get any answers about their origin or anything of the like. They are a force of nature within the world, as inscrutable as, a murky lake.
There's something almost Lovecraftian about Quina, eh?
Oh god, like if you look at the tongue?
Yeah.
When I spoke to XP Hobo before this episode, they mentioned that they might be assembling pictures, and when I showed them a picture of Quina, they were like, nah, I got it now. I have to assemble pictures. So, listeners, if you've never actually seen Quina, I think there might be a link available for you in this episode transcript to take a look, because, good god, they're like a Lovecraftian nightmare mixed with a clown.
That is accurate.
Right?
We're all about the analogies tonight, aren't we?
We're having fun. This is great. I love it.
It's very hard to describe Queena as in any other way, except that, like, that, but with a tongue that goes all the way down to their belly button and is too long to fit in their mouths.
Okay, so let's move on before our listeners, won't be able to sleep at night.
Right. Queena will haunt your dreams.
If you
Please.
should die before you wake.
Legit, that episode of The Simpsons gave me nightmares.
All right. We are having way too much fun here, but we've got one oddball left to discuss, and that's coming from me. So let's get right to it. So for mine, I have chosen Mao from Shadow Hearts from the New World, or Shadow Hearts 3 for those who may have picked it up in the UK. Now, this really shouldn't be an oddity in a world with horrific monsters that will drop your sanity just by looking at them. But Mao is a human-sized talking anthropomorphic white cat with an alcohol problem. That alcohol problem has also given Mao a mastery of drunken boxing. During Mao's special attack, he will chug the entirety of his very large bottle and go into a flurry of drunken blows. And lastly, his weapons in the game are just newer bottles of liquor, just bigger, stronger. I don't know what's in them anymore. It's a new bottle of booze. Now the icing on the cake here is that Mao is not the only member of his kind. There is a whole troop of cat people working in Hollywood at what they call Paramount Pictures. And Mao's character side quests to strengthen his skills in his drunken boxing are to help them make an action movie with really, really bad cat pun movie stars. Now, these stars include characters such as the Meowminator or Cat Marita and Bruce Meow. It is absolutely ridiculous. And this is coming from a game that also includes Frank, the French-American ninja spy. Even with that, I think Mao and everybody at Paramount Pictures really take the cake on this one. And that's why this is probably one of the weirdest characters I could encounter.
One of the things about Mao, too, is that we're technically 4 games into this series. And we have never seen, up until this point, an anthropomorphic, talking, human-sized white cat.
Yeah, it's like we're into at least the 1930s, 1940s in America at this point, because we were dealing with Al Capone at one point in this story. So, yeah, so that is our complete list of odd playable RPG characters for you to check out. They're strange, they're charming, they might haunt your dreams for the rest of your life, who knows? But these are definitely ones. So, are there any other ones that we haven't thought of? That's the big question, and that's what I want to hear about from you guys about this week around. You can hit me up on our social media, find me on Twitter at BillionairesXP. You can find me on Instagram at Ray Fegram. And you can check me out streaming, assuming my internet is working, at Ray Fegram on Twitch, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern. Sky, where can everyone find you?
I'm at SkyKnightXP on Twitter and Twitch, at skyknight.xp on Instagram, and I stream Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern.
All right. And Irene, now twice now, like we promised, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at irogue_XP. That is irogue_XP on Twitter and Twitch. For those of you who want to yell at me about how terrible Claptrap is, you are free to do so. You are wrong. I will maintain that you are wrong forever. Claptrap is amazing. And also, if you want to throw any Queena-related nightmares at my feet and tell me it is all my fault, that one is on me. I will take that one on the chin. You can find me streaming 7 p.m. on Thursdays.
All right. And our website, xpbillionaires.wordpress.com, has our transcripts and any updates with new episodes and some of our great written pieces. We don't do a lot of them right now, but the ones we have done I think are pretty nice, so do check them out. But don't forget to check out our eventual monthly newsletter. We'll get that out on Twitter when it happens, but it can also be found on our coffee page. That's coffee.com/xpbillionaires. And if you like what we're doing, please send us a coffee. We'd love to have it. And it's one way to show your support. And if not, just tell people what we're doing. We love it. All right. So we're gonna end it off here for this week. And well, whether you like the weird ones or not, there's always going to be enough party members for you to keep gaming. So remember that, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.